This video will demonstrate how to field strip an SKS type rifle. This particular rifle is a Norinco, Chinese made, with a Cho-8 or a Chote stock on it. So I'm going to show you how to break it down. I'm going to show you how to take the stock off and show you how to put it back together. Anytime you clean a gun, you want to make sure that it's unloaded. Now on an SKS, the bolt will hold open on the last round fired. That's to keep the user from trying to fire a firearm that doesn't have any ammo in it. And because SKS is designed to be fed by stripper clips right here, this also gets you ready to load up your next rounds. So, easiest way to drop the bolt: open the magazine, pull the bolt back, you hear the that click, that's the follower coming down, close the bolt. There's a takedown lever here. This particular rifle is so stiff, I usually like to use a piece of wood to help push it. Anything that's non-marring. Rotate the lever up, then you're going to wiggle it and it should come out towards you. Okay. So at 90 degrees it will slide this way, and that will release the receiver cover. You can pull out the recoil spring and guide. It's an integral unit. From there, you pull back on the bolt. Here we are, bolt. The bolt's actually a two-piece unit. I don't know if you want to call it a bolt and a bolt carrier or what, but there's another step you can take. You can take the gas tube off here, and basically all you do is you push up on this front sight. Again, mine is really stiff, so I like to use a piece of wood to push it up. This is just like an AK style rifle, where you get this lever here, and when the lever is vertical, you can pull up on the gas tube. Inside the gas tube is a piston. That should come out also. There we have it, a completely field stripped rifle ready to be cleaned. I like to clean these from the breech using a cleaning rod and a solvent and then oil. I'll clean the bolt. You can tell I haven't cleaned this in a while. And then I'll put grease. Then I'll clean the bolt carrier as well. And I'll put grease here in these channels to help it slide. I'll clean and oil or clean and grease up this mainspring. Clean this with some solvent or some oil and a cloth. The piston, this one hasn't been cleaned in a bit, but again, I like to put some grease up here just to preserve the function. And then wipe down this, and you can even take a oiled patch and scrub out the inside of the tube. We'll go over function of the rifle. You can see in there's a hole. That's where the front of the gas tube connects, and that hole goes all the way through into the barrel. What happens is you fire around in the chamber, and the bullet and the gases travel down the barrel. When the bullet gets to here, the gases can come back up. This pushes the piston back. It only pushes it back a little bit. The piston will push back against this piece right here in the front sight base, and this is spring loaded. That pushes back, and when it pushes back, it pushes against this rod right there at the other side of the front sight base. It pushes back, and that rod there in the rear sight also pushes back. When that rod pushes back, the bolt's closed, and that will push back on the bolt. And when the bolt opens up, the bottom half of the bolt will be able to cam, and you'll get this whole piece moving back against the recoil spring, which will eject the spent round, and then the recoil spring will push forward. The bottom bolt will strip the next round out of the magazine, chamber it, and you're ready to go again. This is the bolt. Here's the firing pin. The hammer and the action will hit the firing pin. Now there's no spring retaining the firing pin. This is how you can get a slam fire out of an SKS, where the bolt closes, the firing pin just with its own momentum comes forward, and if the primer's too sensitive, the round can go off. So a lot of modern guns have a spring to keep the firing pin from going forward. And sometimes you'll see a little bit of a dent on your primer. That's why it's important to use mil-spec primers or military ammo, because you don't want too sensitive a primer. You can see I'm just pushing with my finger, and the firing pin comes out, standing a little proud there. Now when you clean this, you can also put a little grease in here so it doesn't rub too bad against the upper portion of the bolt. This is how these two pieces mate together. Now when the bolt's closed, we're locked forward. When the piston comes back, the bolt will cam up and then be able to slide rearward. And then of course when it comes forward, it strips the round from the magazine and then cams down. When the bolt carrier goes all the way forward, it cams down on the bolt and locks it in place. Piston comes back, the bolt cams up, the whole works slide back. When it comes forward, the carrier will move forward and cam down on the bolt and lock it down. The inside of the works is pretty simple. You can see it's machined out. I'll open up the magazine. There's a follower here. There's a catch here. When the magazine follower gets all the way to the top, there's no more ammo. That catch will come up and catch the bolt going forward. If this piece was depressed, then I'd be able to pull the trigger and the hammer would drop. Let's see. Taking the stock off is simple. All you need is a loaded round. The idea being that the only thing a soldier will have in addition to his rifle is ammo. Now instead of using a cartridge, I'm going to use a screwdriver because it's easier. You've got to put the safety on for this to work. Slide the rifle, lay the rifle down on the table, and then you want to push in. There's a little recess right here on the button. Push in. And then the trigger guard will pop right on out. Trigger guard pops out. Here you can see the trigger mechanism. You can also pull the action up and out. I'm getting captured up on here, so I'll pull back. There we go. See, there's a spring here in the stock. You used to be able to buy 5-round magazines that were flush fit with the stock. I don't know if those are currently available. You can also buy detachable magazines, but personally I don't really care for the detachable magazines on an SKS. As you can see, it's a very simple rifle. It was made to be used by people who didn't have a real good mechanical background, but you needed to give them a rifle to fight with, and I think that suits its purpose. Very simple, only a few pieces, easy to manufacture. There we have the SKS rifle, completely disassembled, trigger out, barrel action removed from the stock, gas tube and piston out, main spring, 2 parts of the bolt and the bolt cover. Let's put it all back together now, starting with the stock. The front of the stock needs to be captured by this piece of sheet metal, and we just press the rest of the stock into place. Remember, there's a spring here. Spring goes in there. Lift up on the magazine cover. Trigger guard fits in up high, the back of the magazine. The spring in place. Push down. There you are. Leave the magazine open. you want to change out the handguard, you've got to drive this pin out here. I had a heck of a time driving that out, and I couldn't really even see it because of the polish. The pin was put in and then this piece was polished. I couldn't see the pin, but you drive that pin out. I believe this piece comes out and then you can swap out your handguard. It's very difficult. Putting this back together, the piston goes inside. You can see there on the gas tube, the gas release holes. When the piston travels rearward enough, the gas will leak out there. With the piston flush here, slide the gas tube into place up here. You will need to adjust this wing so it's in position and push down hard. Once that's down, rotate this piece back down and around. Here I have a screwdriver and wrapped in a piece of cloth. Now we're back into position. There we have gas tube back in place. Leave the magazine open for this part. Take your cleaned bolt. Again, I like to put some grease in here, reduce the wear. Bolt assembly goes into place here. Line it up. You might need to push down a little bit here. Slide forward. That won't slide forward if your magazine is closed. Now you can close the magazine. Main spring and guide. Slide in here. Now what I like to do is push it in and let it rest right here. Lever at 90 degrees with the piece all the way over. You can see there's a pin here that helps with the locking. Slide the receiver cover into place. Close the pin. Got to make sure the takedown lever is pushed in all the way. Once the lever is flush, it's time to rotate it back down into position. And again, mine's hard to do, so use a screwdriver and a cloth this time. Now, remember we put the spring here, we want it actually to move back all the way, so when you cycle the bolt, that should happen. Safety off now. We'll work the action and pull the trigger. Everything's working. Magazine closed. Action open. There you have it. Thanks for watching.